you know. So, but in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I don't have Gaza and I don't have Gully. I have Canary and Agavilla. But I'm the political world boss. We demonstrate that. But we are going to be in the chair. Our program will be adopted for the month of November. We will present it on the morning of the 2nd of November, which is a Monday. A few days before the election. Before our election. Ambassador Rhonda King is sitting in the chair. 110,000 people she represents. She's also the voice of the Caribbean and Latin America. You know, huge Latin American nations who voted for us. Huge. I ain't gonna call in their names, but you can look at the map and see. Huge, very huge. They photocopied their ballot and brought it to me and said, Prime Minister, we are voting for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Here is the way we cast our ballot. Hell of a story, yeah? And this small country's ambassador was sitting there in the chair. So if Mike Pompeo wants to speak, Secretary of State of the great United States of America, whom the President wants to make great again. Some people say white again. It has never been white. It was originally brown with the Indian. Others. Pompeo would have to put up his nameplate, USA. And other nameplates may be up. And Rhonda King will say, Your Excellency, the Secretary of State for the United States of America, Mr. Pompeo, you have the floor. He can't talk unless Rhonda tell him so. 110,000 people in a world of 8 billion. Social democracy says, nobody is we don't say that we're better than anybody, but nobody better than us. I want you to know that. And social democracy says to you, as young people, you could soar like eagles with your wings unclipped. In education, you do your part. I will do my part. Last year, I gave 50 scholarships, national exhibitions, and bursaries as a result of the CAPE exams. If you give me better results this year, I haven't seen them in all details. CAPE and Associates. I will give you more than 50. You do your part. I will do my part. I want to read a poem for you. It's by a Vincentian poet, Sheikhin. And I will show the relevance of that to our social democratic revolution. In 1973, Sheikhin wrote a poem called How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. Sorry, Rodney wrote a book called How Europe Underdeveloped Africa, and Sheikhin wrote a poem called Private Prayer in celebration of the publication of this book. I once told Fidel about this book. Incidental Walter Rodney was my friend. They assassinated him in Guyana. I'm still very much in touch with his wife and children. His widow. And when they banned him from Jamaica, where he was lecturing, as a young man of 22, student, I led the largest protest that the country had seen since the 1938 Anti-Colonial Uprising. I was beaten and tear gassed. They were to throw, but the story is how I had to remain, I could answer that to you if you ask me. But if you read The Making of the Comrade, you'll find out how. My autobiography up to 2010. So this poem resonates with me. This is what Sheikhin says. To understand how the whole thing run, I have to ask my parents and even my daughter and son. To understand the form of compromise I am, I must in my own voice ask how the whole thing run. To ask why I don't dream in the same language I live in, I must rise up among the syllables of my parents in the land which I am and form a whole daughter and a whole son out of the compromise which I am. To understand history, I have to come home. In my application of that, to understand where we are, how the whole thing run, I don't have to ask a passport seller. I had to ask my mother and my father. And I had to ask my daughter and my son. And to know exactly where we are, I take account of what nature has given us and how history and the evolving condition of life, living, and production have shaped us. And what do we do? What is our quest? Before we reach detailed policies and programs, what is our quest? To build a whole daughter and a whole son. And Sheikhin put daughter first because there has been so much historical misogyny and male domination that we tend to forget. Certainly in my case, though I had a good father, my mother fathered me. To form a whole daughter and a whole son out of the circumstances where history has brought us. Notice it didn't say a perfect daughter and a perfect son. One where all your possibilities and strengths must be enhanced and your limitations and weaknesses reduced to as far as humanly possible. Not to be perfect, because you and I, we are not divine, but a whole one. And to be in solidarity with one another. And how we achieve that? By coming home. Not come home like a man come home to run for election going back. No, that's not that. Come home to ourselves as a people, knowing our possibilities and our strengths, our weaknesses and our limitations, and by hard and smart work to build in solidarity. It's in Vincent and the Grenadines, in the interest of the people of which we are part, to come home to ourselves. to see the world through the prism of our own eyes. I began by giving you the way colonialism has remade St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And through the fever of history, we have become one people. One people. We are like, metaphorically, a symphony. We are the songs of the indigenous people, the Kalinago and the Garifuna. We are the rhythm of Africa. We are the melody of Europe and the chords of Asia and the homegrown lyrics of the Caribbean. Like all symphonies, from time to time, we have dissonances. How do we address those dissonances? The way Milton Cato said we must do it. With the building of free institutions, the principles of democracy and social justice, and equality before the law. And to do it inclusively so that we get our just rewards for labor. We build these institutions to help to resolve the dissonances and also to evolve our culture, our sense of solidarity in this civilization. I bring to the table the quotation from a Mexican Nobel laureate for literature, Octavio Paz, who wrote this in a book entitled The Labyrinth of Solitude and Other Writings. You can get a similar perspective from the Nobel lecture of Derek Walcott, whom I believe you students in literature study. They say what Ralph is talking about, that there is a Caribbean civilization and a magnificent Vincentian component there. I could say that from the history because I have come home to myself. I've been home to myself for years upon years. And that's what I made reference to the titans of the past and to the writers of the creative imagination. And I quote the folk. Here is: civilization is a society's style, its way of living and dying. It embraces the erotic of the culinary arts, dancing and burial, courtesy and courses, work and leisure, rituals and festival, punishments and rewards, dealings with the dead, with the ghosts who people our dreams, attributes towards women and children, old people and strangers, enemies and allies, eternity and the present, the here and now and the beyond. A civilization is not only a system of values, but a world of forms and codes of behavior, rules and exceptions. It is society's visible side. Institutions, monuments, work, things. But it is especially its submerged, invisible side. Beliefs, desires, fears, repressions, dreams. We have a civilization which is authentic, an island civilization. And social democracy is the political framework to be utilized for the further ennoblement and advancement of our Caribbean civilization and its Vincentian component. And we in the Unity Labour Party, the comrade, the five-star general, the political world boss, the Unity Labour Party, we are the natural inheritors of the political forces of Joshua, Mackintosh before him, and Cato after him. And we will go all out to solidify and deepen the social democratic revolution. No Chinese in Hong Kong going to tell me what I must do in my country. No British or European resident in Switzerland. And this 100-page manifesto, which we would launch on Sunday at a rally at Richmond Hill. Unity Labour Party, our vision with enduring love. Manifesto 2020, lifting SVG higher, contains the blueprint for the next 5 years and beyond, for the further deepening and broadening of the social democratic revolution. And I stand here in remembering all those who have gone before me, gone before us, from the origins of the social democratic revolution to today. And to you, the young people, I say this in parting. I have an old friend, now dead since the early 19th century. I have many dead friends. The name of this one is William Wordsworth, who at the time of the French Revolution in the 1790s penned these immortal words. Bliss was it in that dawn alive, but to be young was very heaven. I, as your senior, it is blissful for me to be alive. But you, your condition is heavenly. I urge you to take advantage of your heavenly condition and all the opportunities, and to strengthen solidarity and social democracy. And I want women especially, of all ages. It's fitting that I finish with a Caribbean poet, H.A. Vaughan, in a poem, Revelation. I'll quote the first part. Vaughan wrote this poem in the early 1940s, arising out of the Anti-Colonial Uprising, when we were redefining ourselves as a people. And Vaughan, whose parents, he was born in the Dominican Republic, his parents had gone there to work on the sugar plantations. He became a historian, a lawyer, a judge, a member of the cabinet, a parliament of Barbados. And he wrote this poem as an ode to a young Caribbean woman, seeing in the Caribbean woman a synonym of what is magnificent in our civilization, and compares her with the beauty what you see in Greece and Rome. And he makes an allusion to Helen of Troy, the so-called epitome of classic European beauty. And beauty here is used in all its dimensions. And he looked at the young lady, young Caribbean woman, and says, turn sideways now and let them see what loveliness escapes the schools. And turn again and smile and be the perfect answer to those fools who always prate of Greece and Rome, the face that launched 1,000 ships and such like things. But keep tight lips for a burnished beauty nearer home. We don't need anybody to define us. We don't need any passport seller to control us. We don't have to recolonize our country. We have come through the cauldron of struggle. We have been beaten on the anvil of experience. And we have arrived at a position now where the world recognizes St. Vincent and the Grenadines. 10 years I campaigned for the Security Council. 10 years. You hear me? I was laughed at. I was treated derisively by some. But I knew what I knew. And there are possibilities. Always remember that. And when anybody comes to you for quick and easy money, like passport money, the book of Proverbs teaches wealth that is built by vanity diminishes. That which is built by labor, in our case, smart and hard work, that which is built by labor, increase it. My parents, your grandparents and great-grandparents addressed the issue of development with unlimited supplies of cheap labor. I'm inviting you to be with me. Somebody who, your grandfather, even your great-grandfather, to know that the development which I call for and the crusade which I call for with you is one for development with unlimited supplies of knowledge and skills. The opportunities are there. You are the inheritors of the social democratic revolution. I hear some people who benefit from going to university. I hear that they say they go in there not because of any opportunity that Ralph provides. I go in there because I'm bright. Well, how is it you had so many bright people before who couldn't go? Just granted 394 tuition scholarships. And remember this, there are two types of brightness. A brightness which blinds and a brightness which illuminates. If you are driving your SUV on high beam and I drive in mine, I come in an opposite direction. Both of us are very bright, but we blind in one another. Embrace the brightness which illuminates. And the brightness which illuminates can only come about in social solidarity with one another. And you can't tell me you want to be one Vincent and sell the passport, and you can't tell me you're one Vincent and you tell Parliament you have the Vincentian passport in your back pocket and you're Canadian proudly in your front pocket. You do that, you're half a Vincent, and you can't talk to me about being a Vincent. You can't talk to me about building a whole daughter or a whole son because you could never come home to yourself. And if you can't come home to yourself, you can't lead. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. Let's hear it again for the Honorable Prime Minister. And I recognize the Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Planning who joined us during the presentation. I think we have a few minutes for questions, if there are any burning questions from anyone. Ezra, do we have a cordless?
So you're just listening to a live coverage
Oh, the
of
microphone is
a lecture on the origins and unfolding of the social democratic revolution in St. Vincent and the Grenadines on the occasion of the 85th anniversary of the Anti-Colonial Uprising of October 21st, 1935. The presentation, the lecture delivered by Dr. the Honorable Gonsalves here at the SVG Community College. We have young lady who's moving to the microphone at this time. There's a portion of the event dedicated to questions from students. So at this point we'll have the question by the student of the SVG Community College. Present here this morning, along with students of the various divisions of the SVG Community College, persons from all different walks of life, including lecturers, teachers, students from the various divisions of the SVG Community College, civil servants, and other persons. Shortly we'll be getting that question from the student. There seems to be an issue with the microphone provided to the individuals who are asking their questions here today. Following the questions period, which is expected to be brief.
The technician is trying to put the microphone for one of our students to ask her question.
So that issue should be rectified shortly. Let's listen to the contribution from the student.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank you for coming here this morning and giving your lecture. But my question is about commemorating our political heroes, such as George McIntosh, etc. Why haven't they been named as national heroes, or at least been commemorated? Or why is it that stories such as these stories about the revolution of 1935, why isn't it a part of our secondary school history education? Because I never learned about this at all.
Well, part of the problem is this. The authors of most of the texts on Caribbean history come from the bigger Caribbean territories. And they tend to focus on 1935 and 38 in Jamaica, 1937 in Trinidad, and 1937 in Barbados, and generally does talk about St. Vincent in 1935. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that the teaching of history is not compulsory. I have been fighting to have history being taught as a compulsory subject, at least up to the 5th form. And thirdly, there are too many teachers who are focused only on the broad outlines of the syllabus. I could tell you that I have had several students over the years who have come to me who are doing papers of one kind or another on the 1935 Anti-Colonial Uprising and on George McIntosh. And every time I will tell them, when I say bring half a dozen, bring how many of your colleagues? So I'll talk to them. I usually take 2-3 hours and just talk to them. And humanize also McIntosh. Not a perfect man, but a person whom I think should be considered seriously. And there has been a discussion on it, and there's a commission, there's a body which was set up under the law which we passed, the National Heroes Act. And I wrote a document entitled, the book, The Making of a National Hero, Law and Practice in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, a consideration of McIntosh, Joshua Cato, and J.P. Eustace. All of those persons whom I've known, well, of course, I've interacted with Joshua Cato and J.P. Eustace, but I knew McIntosh as a boy going to school and observed him, and I've subsequently studied him. Now, I think that McIntosh, Joshua Cato, and Eustace should be, all of them should be named as national heroes. That's my personal view.
I agree.
There is a contention in the politics. Some don't mind McIntosh, and some say if you're doing McIntosh, you also have to do Cato and Joshua. Some don't want to do Joshua because Joshua and Cato are at loggerheads, though they're in the same tradition. Some don't want Cato because they feel Cato will give legitimacy to the Labour Party. And we don't need that. We don't need to have the legitimacy for the Labour Party. And you have all of these things. But I made the case for each of them. And I believe, I'm hopeful like you. I'm hopeful that before I leave politics actively, that that McIntosh, Joshua Cato, and J.P. Eustace would be made national heroes. But the way I seek to govern, I don't want to impose my own views. I want a consensus to develop. And I'm hopeful that the book, which I'll distribute, the book is now, Amerijet has come, and they're trying to take it through customs and put it in a vehicle to come. So I hope if it doesn't arrive, as I promised earlier, I will send. But there are a couple of cases of books there, 2 of my books, one on autobiography up to 2010, and another book which I wrote when I went to the monastery, in a Benedictine monastery. I spent 10 days trying to assess myself in 2005 and pray and reflect on all what I've been doing. And I wrote a diary of my time in the monastery. That may interest some people too. You know, since 2010, I have written and caused to be published 9 books while being Prime Minister, because I sense I have an obligation to write all of this thing down so that you and others, when I'm gone, I'm dead, I'm gone. So once I still have life, even though it takes a lot out of me, because it means that I have to go to bed and get up very, very early in the morning to write. and take a lot of time doing the research while doing my work, which is my primary responsibility. So that is how I would answer you, and I'm very happy that you're thinking along those lines, because those are precisely some of my own thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you as well.
Good morning, Mr. Prime Minister. Good morning, everyone. I would like to start with a quote, and I guess you will recognize it. Friends of all, we strive for a better world.
Yes, I know that quote very well. That's the broad tagline for our Security Council run.
Yes, yes.
Friends of all, we strive for a better world.
Yes. Oh, I forgot to say my name. My name is Winifred Brown. I live abroad, but right now I am in St. Vincent for the time being. I was very proud when my little, within quotation marks, when my little island became a member of the Security Council. And I remember the first time I landed here after we had been elected. When I landed at the airport, I said, I am missing something, and therefore I would like to make a suggestion. I think that our country should capitalize on the fact that we are a member of the Security Council. When I look in town, we have lots of souvenirs, St. Vincent, and with the parrot and what have you. I would so much like to see something like this, the booklet, keychains, T-shirts, and things like that. I think it would also be a boost for tourism, which we want to increase. So I wanted to take this opportunity to put forward this suggestion.
Excellent suggestions. In fact, we had invited the private sector to do so. One private sector entity, St. Vincent Distillers, did a Captain Bligh rum with the package in commemoration of our Security Council membership. They probably still have it on sale.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr.
Good morning.
Prime Minister. My question is not related to capitalization or national heroes. It's about money, right?
That's okay. That's okay.
So I know annually the government gives out $500 to students who obtain maths and English and 5 other CSEC subjects, right? But students like myself sat maths in 2019, right? So I'm wondering if those students are entitled.
You will get it. They have gotten it once you have the 5 subjects.
Can you repeat that for me, please?
You will get it.
Okay.
In fact, that has happened before. First of all, when the question was raised, and there were a few cases like yours, and I said, but the student did the maths in 4th form, and they passed. The rule is not to get them all at one sitting. In fact, one of the reasons why you tend to do it in 4th form, a lot of the students are very bright, very precocious, and the teacher thinks that you can go and score your A in the particular year 1, in the particular year. So that if there is any omission of that kind, please indicate to the ministry when they bring the list. Yesterday, while on the campaign trail, I called the cabinet secretary to get the Ministry of Education to send for me the list, because I would like you to get the money quickly. It's before independence. The money is there. I'm just waiting for the list. Similarly, I need to get I asked for the names for the results for CAPE and the associate degrees, so that we can give out the number of scholarships. I'll see whether it's 50, 55, 60, 100 for that matter. I will, so don't worry, you will get your money.
Okay. Okay.
You're from where?
Green Hill. I live at Green Hill.
Green Hill.
Yes, please.
Are you a Haynes?
No, I'm a Bilinji.
You're a Bilinji, but you have family in Park Hill?
No.
Absolutely, yes. You have family in Park Hill. I'm telling you that.
Okay. Then, thanks.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, anyone else? Well, I want to thank you very, very much for having me. I really appreciate it. I just want to indicate that for persons who are interested in coming to the rally on Sunday, everyone, please wear your mask. We have, the Unity Labour Party has given out over 20,000 masks, and we have more which we can give out. Because if we are going to have a rally of that kind, I'd like you to wear your mask. All right, let's continue to keep it healthy and safe, and take all the requisite precautions. I just want to make that particular point. Thanks very much. I do appreciate it. The last elections, the community college had Mr. Eustace on a morning trying to persuade you to vote NDP, and had me in the afternoon seeking to persuade you to vote ULP. I believe that the community college is seeking to organize a similar event, and I just want you to know that I'll be very happy to come, not as Prime Minister, but to come as political leader of the Unity Labour Party. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. And to say thanks on your behalf, I invite Michaela Friday, a student of the Division of Arts, Sciences and General Studies, to say thanks. And as she comes, I wish to let you know that for those of you who do not have copies of Making of the Comrade and Diary of a Prime Minister, we do have copies available for everyone. And so if you wish to get a copy of either of those books, you just wait around after, and Rafiq will assist with distributing on this side. Over here, I don't think we have seen the copies from the airport as yet.
They're on the way.
They're on their way, so perhaps if you hold on as well, you will also get a copy of that book. As the Prime Minister indicated, we are working on that Meet the Leaders, and as soon as we get a response from the leader of the New Democratic Party, you would hear more of that presentation. Michaela Friday.
The Honorable Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. the Honorable Ralph E. Gonsalves, Ministers of Cabinet, the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Camilla Gonsalves, specially invited guests, the media, good afternoon. On behalf of Mr. Nigel Scott, Director of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Community College, the Deputy Director, the Deans and Deputy Deans, the registrars, the lecturers, clerical workers and non-clerical workers, and the students of the SVGCC. I thank all the persons that have helped to make this morning's proceedings possible. Firstly, we thank Almighty God for this day and for giving us all the opportunity to be present today. I thank Nadia Bino of the Division of Teachers Education for doing the prayer. I would like to thank our director, Mr. Nigel Scott, for the welcome/introduction, and our presenter, the Honorable Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. the Honorable Ralph E. Gonsalves, for his exposition on the topic, the origins and unfolding of the social democratic revolution in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which has most certainly left us enlightened and informed. I am sure this topic would have sparked keen interest amongst students of history, Caribbean studies, Caribbean society, law, sociology, and economics. Once more, thank you one and all.
And that concludes the lecture presentation by Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Ralph Gonsalves. So we just had there the vote of thanks. The presentation today, Origins and Unfolding of the Social Democratic Revolution in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, on the occasion of the 85th anniversary of the Anti-Colonial Uprising of October 21st, 1935, delivered this morning into this afternoon by Dr. the Honorable Ralph Gonsalves, Prime Minister and author and editor of the book, The Trial of George McIntosh and the 1935 Uprising. Took place at the SVG Community College, Villa Campus, attended by students from the various divisions of the college and, of course, also representatives from the media, the diplomatic corps, and also civil servants, teachers, lecturers, all present here to witness this occasion today. And at this point, this is where we say so long for our broadcast here at the SVG Community College. As we wrap up, we must express thanks to all those involved in making this event possible. On the radio end, thanks very much to our technical team. We had with us this morning Junior Byron Cox, Rennie King, technician / driver, and Javid Roberts, also part of the broadcast here this morning into this afternoon. At Master Control, we had Javel Frank. On behalf of myself, Colvin Harry, here's wishing you a pleasant afternoon and taking you back to Master Control at studios at Richmond Hill in Kingstown.